Now that the Nokia 6 is out and it costs so much more than it should, we thought we'd skip Nokia 5 and give this a shot. After using it for about a week, I feel like it's a little bit of an average phone, maybe like a 7 on 10, and here's why we think it's just an average phone. I feel like the biggest plus side of the phone is its build quality with these really nice chamfered edges, and it's got this really solid feel to it. Again, there are some things which you feel like such a nice phone should have done right, like they've really messed up with the camera bump and the fingerprint sensor, which is really awkwardly placed. The camera sensor could have been slightly higher along with a few capacitive buttons. I feel that would have done wonders for the phone. We've already done a whole physical overview on the phone, and there's an unboxing video and everything. If you want to check that out, there's a link in the description below. I feel like one of the biggest advantages here is the fact that the phone has a matte finish to it. Very often these big phones, when they try to make them look really nice, they end up having really glossy, smooth finishes which look phenomenal. But they're really slippery, and when you're using the phone at night under your blanket, you end up slipping and falling on your face and leaving your whole face in pain after the betrayal that the phone does to you. On the other hand, the metal buttons have this really nice positive click to them, and I think that's pretty awesome. The screen has this really nice Gorilla Glass 3 protection on it, but in the age of bezel-less phones, Nokia has been really disappointing. They tried to create a premium looking phone, which they did, but they didn't manage to keep up with trends like they should have. The screen provided is full HD. It's not that big, but its viewing angles are pretty great, and the sunlight legibility is awesome. The max brightness is not that high and the lowest brightness is not that low, but on the overall, it's a great screen to look at. Talking about the battery, for its processing power, it's pretty good. It's got a 3000 mAh fully packed battery, which takes about 100 minutes to charge with a little bit of power left. On an average, I had about 4 hours of screen time running, which was enough to last me the whole day. Talking about performance, the phone has all of the basic sensors that a mid-range device should have. It's got the compass sensor, the ambient light sensor, the NFC, which can be used for Android Pay and Android Beam for instant file transfers. The Snapdragon 430, which shouldn't be in a phone that costs as much as this, ends up powering the full 1080 HD display and somehow handles the 4GB RAM and the 64GB onboard storage. Then again, it does end up lagging a bit with a lot of apps on. The fingerprint sensor, on the other hand, runs 90% of the time and takes a whole second to work, which I feel is obviously too much in 2017. The Nokia 6 ships with a really nice pair of stereo speakers, which put most other smartphones within this range to shame with sound. The sound experience is really nice and immersive. The lows are pretty nice, but it's not a very loud speaker at the end of the day. While gaming, the sound experience is pretty good, but overall I'd say it should have been a little louder in my opinion. The Nokia 6 is equipped with a nice 16 megapixel primary camera with phase detect autofocus. It's got an aperture, the lens has an aperture of f2.0, and the dual tone LED flash is really useful in low light conditions. There's a customized app for the Nokia. The user interface is quite simple but not that nice. There's a hamburger menu with a ton of different options. On the face of it all, you can adjust the beauty, you can switch on the beauty mode, you can choose between the panorama, the time lapse, the slow-mo. What's really messed up with the slow-mo feature is that it won't automatically change the frame, it won't automatically change the resolution and makes you do it manually, which I think makes just no sense at all. Then again, regular videos, slow-mo videos and time lapses all look exactly the same with no clear distinction in the gallery. So that's something that I hope that Nokia will fix with future software updates. There's no dedicated manual mode to fine-tune the camera, but what you do get in the back end of it is a mode which allows you to adjust the metering mode, the focus selector for macro and micro photographs, and exposure compensation, which I don't feel is nearly enough as to the amount of diversity that a camera really needs these days. And then there's this really annoying pop-up which hits the screen every time the phone's battery is low. It says you can't use the flash, which makes no sense at all because I should be allowed to choose how I spend my battery. But that's it about the camera app. Let's talk about the picture quality. The image quality on this camera is unfortunately not very good. It's a lot better than the other cameras that we found in this price bracket, but then again there's a noticeable softness and quite a bit of dullness with colors running with the camera. The colors are dull and the contrast is not all that great. Here are some of the shots taken on the Nokia 6 in broad daylight, and I have to say the macro shots are great, but the colors are not that accurate. The pictures in HDR aren't noticeably all that different, but then again, they're just slightly sharper, I guess. Low light performance on the camera is absolutely terrible. Photos extremely grainy and the autofocus won't even work in low light conditions. The Nokia 6 shoots video at 1080p HD with at 24 or 30 frames per second. It does have higher frame rates, but at the cost of resolution, as I said earlier, with 60 frames at 720p and 90 frames at 480, which is absolutely unacceptable. The audio on the other hand is pretty good. The secondary mic is extremely sensitive and picks up great sound, but it's really bad at cancelling out ambient sounds. There's no sort of stabilization whatsoever, although overall video quality is not that bad. The phone ships with the stock Android 7.1.1, and the 1 week that I've been using it, I've got 2 updates. I'm really excited to see when Nokia will push it for the Oreo update. I think Nokia has been running a pretty interesting partnership with Amazon, since the phone ships with quite a few built-in Amazon features. You've got the Prime app, you've got the Kindle app, and the shopping app. Then again, if you don't use Prime features, I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite disappointing since they can't be uninstalled. Aside from this, it's a pretty stock experience with Android, and there's a little bit of a bluish tinge to it. The earpiece works fine, but the mic sound reception is really poor. The next person you're calling is not going to be able to hear you unless you keep the phone extremely close to your ear. If it's even a short distance away, the sound just completely goes missing. I don't know if the problems were with the operator over the phone, but I did also deal with a few call drops in the middle. Not that big of a deal. Overall, the Nokia 6 won't impress you in terms of processing speed. Then again, you're paying mid-range money for the phone, and the specs and the build quality you get for it are pretty good. The specs are kind of sort of expensive, but if you're looking for a phone which looks really nice and does well with its few features, I think this will do its job perfectly fine. But that's it for the Nokia 6. Stay tuned for more.